Another day, another high for India stock markets. The Sensex crossing that 79,000 level. Nifty also hitting a new lifetime high. Nifty Bank also crossing 53,000. So clearly nothing really stopping the market momentum. Now to decode what is really leading to this surge, we have with us market veteran Amrish Balega. Thank you very much for your time. So first of all, what's leading to this surge that markets are hitting a milestone each day?
I would say just post the elections, I mean, we had a shocker and we had the markets correcting very heavily. But since then, there has hardly been any adverse news as far as the markets are concerned. I mean, whatever data is coming, the macro data, the macro numbers, all have been quite benign. And markets have, in fact, welcomed them, because of which we are seeing this sort of a move. And again, what happens is, I mean, whenever the markets are giving you decent returns and there's a momentum in the market, there's more liquidity which comes in. So, despite the FI selling, which we saw, I mean, earlier in this month, I mean, we have seen the markets continue to move up because the domestic liquidity is good enough to take the markets up. I mean, that's a different thing, that the valuations are getting expensive, but when momentum is there, liquidity is there, I think it will continue to move up at least for a while.
All right. And for those wondering which sectors are outperforming, what would you say? Of course, financials really leading that surge as far as we've seen so far.
Right. Our financials are leading this surge, and we also have the defense stocks, which are, in fact, I mean, doing well earlier. I mean, that's also been doing decently well. I mean, the other sector which had done well in between, I mean, just after the government formation, was FMCG, which I see to be possibly an underdog, which I think should do extremely well over the next possibly a year. I mean, basically because I expect that in the budget there would be focus on rural and farm. And I mean, this could be a kicker for the FMCG sector. And at the same time, we are seeing that the monsoons also should be normal. So that will be another trigger for this sector. So I think FMCG is one to be loaded up with.
All right. And for those wondering, okay, when are we going to see that 80,000 level on the Sensex then? Given the pace at which we are seeing new milestones for both the benchmark indices, what would you say?
I mean, I'll not be too surprised if we see 80,000 before we end this interview. But then, I mean, the way things are, I think we should see it very soon.
All right. And lastly, the cautious note really, there is, of course, a market momentum, like you mentioned. But what really must investors be cautious of? How do you see the market momentum going from the medium term to the long term, really?
See, I mean, if you see the last 4 years, I mean, the index has doubled, more than doubled. So this clearly means that even if a person had invested in the index, 100 rupees would have become 200. So I think it's a good time to take your capital out and play with the profits you have. And if you're talking of individual stocks, we have seen so many multi-baggers. So it's quite easy to take out your capital and keep it aside and just play on the profits which you have got in the markets till date. Because, like I said, I mean, the valuations are expensive. And we have seen the sort of a fall the markets can have. I mean, the trailer was on June 4th. I mean, the number of stocks which have lost about 25-30% in a day. So that's also very much possible going ahead in case we get some adverse news, because you really can't, I mean, have good news coming all the way. So whenever there is adverse news coming, we could see the markets correcting quite sharply because the fundamentals have been left, I mean, like far behind. So I think it's better to be safe rather than sorry. So take your capital out and play with the profits.
All right, better to be safe rather than sorry. And we can't leave without asking you the big budget question, really. The budget is not too far now. So, your expectations from this budget, of course, today we heard the president say that, look, there will be landmark reforms. Your first thoughts?
I mean, there would be surely landmark reforms, and I see that happening more on the rural and the farm sector because that's where the focus of the government is. At the same time, I see some amount of tinkering with the taxes so that the middle class is, I mean, at least given some tax reliefs. So I think these are two things to be watched out for.
All right. So lots to watch out for, both from the market's perspective as well as the economy. Thank you so much for this interaction and for sharing your thoughts.